This is it. Your power has grown to preposterous levels. Your chemical storage is overflowing. Your blast furnace has been running for days. You're swimming in stainless steel. But now, you need to become multiplanetary. The vacuum of space is lethal to the unprepared. But that's why you're here. It's time for the home stretch. You're on the precipice of the mid-game, ready to move on from this beginner stuff. So today, we go to space. This is episode 8, HV, to infinity and beyond. MV was a pretty straight line, a nice little self-contained chapter. HV is the opposite. You're going to be jumping around in the quest book quite a bit. You should have the habits down by now, so start with the You're Going to Hate This quest. Just a reminder, in every tier, you'll have a bunch of new stuff to do, but also some of the same stuff every time. Make machine parts, upgrade machines, make energy hatches, make coils, make plastics, and improve circuits. Sometimes the order is varied up. Sometimes you can put things off for a long time, but eventually, you'll do it all. Assuming you have all the stainless steel you need, and don't forget about mining the basics, especially copper. Nothing's really stopping you from going straight at it. You can get the MV circuit assembler right away and start making circuits faster. You won't be able to make any of the new circuits until you get the clean room though. We'll get to that. For now, take advantage of the speed and grab some important upgrades. The HV miners are super worth having, and the last stop before you can get into the multi-block mining rigs. Grab 3 or 4, and keep them running on everything, all the time. And grab compressed chests too. They're pricey, but they keep their inventory when broken, so this is a massive upgrade for your mining process. HV machines also add an output slot, so you can start getting byproduct bonus outputs from various ore processing stages. Not every byproduct is worth having, some just gum up the works. So filtering and fully automating processing at this point can be awkward if you don't know some magic. With a couple of macerators, ore washers, and centrifuges, you can stay loaded with resources. Copper especially is nice for all the bonus gold, but tons of stuff is worth running through. Starting your nickel through the macerators, then sending it through a chemical bath with mercury will net you a fair amount of early platinum too. You should upgrade all your workshop machines, but until your passive setups for chemicals and silicon and everything else you set up are too slow, there's no need to upgrade those. You'll just run into a power crunch sooner than you otherwise would have. At this point, the main things that are going to be eating power are the EBF and the ore processing line you just set up. Use all the fuel you have keeping those going, and if you have extra, power your workshop. If not, this is a good time to make use of your old steam infrastructure and send a drip of power to a battery for your hand-use machines. Having to wait for batteries to charge to use single blocks is a little annoying, but losing time redoing failed smelting operations in the EBF is worse. If you find yourself waiting more than you can stand, it's time to scale up your power production. If your power is holding up well, skip ahead to the clean room, but you'll want to hear what's next either way. If you went oil for power, and frankly, even if you didn't, you might want to think about an oil drilling rig and some long-distance piping. Use your prospector on bedrock and find a fluid pool of regular oil. The underground pools are giant, so you should be safe to pump here for a long while. Plop down the multi-block oil rig, attach a long-distance pipe input, load the chunk, and place pipes down until you get back to your base. And when you get back, send the oil into your new distillation tower. This multi-block has a bunch of options for configuration. To figure out which one you need to know which recipe you're using. To start with distillation, you can distill oil at MV, which gives 4 outputs. As the tooltip suggests, you can only have 1 fluid output per layer, and an item output needs to be in the bottom layer, so the tower needs to be 5 blocks tall. Easy enough, right? Just like the single block, the outputs are contaminated with sulfur, and you'll have to mix them with hydrogen to get the clean output. If you use a multi-block chemical reactor with 5 input hatches, 1 for each oil product and 1 for hydrogen, and 2 output hatches, you can easily desulfurize everything in just one machine. You'll probably need a dedicated hydrogen production, and be sure to save the hydrogen sulfide to turn into sulfuric acid later. You're going to need every drop of the stuff you can get coming up very soon. Once you got the clean outputs, it's time to decide what to do with them. Here's what I suggest as a starting point. Mix the light fuel and heavy fuel to get diesel. You either just got a supplementary fuel source, or you upgraded your existing one. Send the naphtha into a multi-block oil cracker, lightly steam crack it, and then send that into a max-sized distillation tower. The 12-tall behemoth with 11 fluid outputs, and super tanks for everything. Every last chemical is useful, and some will be critical shortly. As for the refinery gas, you can steam crack that as well and distill it in a 6-tall tower, but for the moment, if you just want to use a single block distillery and crank out ethylene to make your polyethylene setup a bit better, I wouldn't be mad at you. You'll also get ethylene from the naphtha setup, so you should be all set. If you go with all single blocks, other than the crackers and distillation towers, it'll end up looking something like this once you finish the whole line by turning the fuel into cetane-boosted diesel. Huge mess, right? So let's circle back to the LCR. You're going to be making a lot of these, so no time like the present to start using them. You'll need the HV tier plastic, polytetrafluoroethylene. This is a minor little resource check in the quest book. You'll need decent supplies of fluorine and chlorine, and neither of those are as straightforward to get as the standard gases. If you haven't gotten into bees or IC2 crops, your best bet is to electrolyze cryolite for fluorine and salt for chlorine. The good news is, you really only need this stuff for LCRs for now. The main reason you want to get into these right away is you can send multiple fluids into them to react. That's right, no more cell management, at least for chemical reactors. The gods rejoice. These things can fit tons of input and output hatches, and the outputs can be filtered. Just remember to mind the recipe tier, and be smart about how much power you supply. Next up, you can start cooking some new boules. To get the phosphorus, you can break down tricalcium phosphate, grabbable in apatite veins in the overworld. You'll also need nitrogen in the EBF, which you can get from cell cycling compressed air cells into a centrifuge. Once again, this is a long smelt. Good thing you just upgraded your fuel. These aren't a hard requirement, other than to complete the quest, but like with the other circuit components, your resources go further the better the input is. While the boules cook, it's time to start preparing for the clean room. The quest book does a good job explaining how it works, so to summarize briefly, build a 5x5x5 box, put the controller in the top middle, surround it with filter machine casings, and make the rest out of plasticrete blocks. Toss down an LV energy hatch, a maintenance hatch, and away in. And the last thing you absolutely need is the cable diode, and the 4A MV diode will work just fine to begin. Stick the diode in a wall and run the right amount of power in. As the quest book suggests, you need to give the clean room 40 EU per tick, so 2 LV generators will do the job. You probably remember from dealing with the EBF that an energy hatch can take 2 amps of power, so send power from both right on in. And don't forget to send the power into the diode too. Do some maintenance, then pop on in and turn the clean room on. If all is well, you'll see it starts working and very slowly increases the efficiency by 1% at a time. Anything less than 100% efficiency and you might void an item, and if it happens to be a mainframe circuit, you're going to have a bad time. Opening the door to the clean room lowers the efficiency, so replace it with an elevator or a travel anchor and act like you never made it. Run some cable from the diode and plop down the cutting machine, laser engraver, and the circuit assembler. You'll need HP power in the clean room very soon, but for the moment, you're gaming. If you figured out chlorine enough to get the polytetra, hopefully you have some spare for a massive batch of iron 3 chloride. You were able to put off the circuit boards last episode, but not anymore. Aside from just the chlorine, you're about to use the most insane quantity of copper that you have ever seen required by modded Minecraft, at least so far. Be sure to use the best recipes you can afford. And if you think you have enough circuit supplies, you don't. It might take an entire day to accumulate enough stuff here. Start with 8 stacks of boards, but be ready for 8 more behind that. The circuit quantities are about to explode. To make the single IV mainframe you need for the quest, you'll need 14 plastic boards. It escalates quickly from here. On the bright side, you can make ULV, LV, and MV circuits in a single step now, and for as cheap as they're going to get. Stock up on LV circuits. You'll need them. And once you've worked your way up to the EV circuit, which, by the way, use a fluid extractor fluid solidifier combination for the blue alloy bolts, you'll thank yourself. You can make the vacuum freezer, which you should do as a priority. No more silly coolant cooling. And no better time either, because you've just realized how important those cheaper circuit components are, and you want to cook copious volumes of tantalum you just extracted from the nether with your shiny new miners. So add an HV diode, an HV generator, and the HV circuit assembler and make your first IV circuits. My god, they're pricey. And go ahead and make the NASA workbench too. It'll make you feel good to have it, however briefly. You can grab the implosion compressor now as well. At this point, an easy craft. The problem is, you need explosives. I'm going to take this as another opportunity to encourage getting into bees, because staying in supply of IT&T without them is going to be a little bit more complicated. Another shameless plug of Aditya's Bees Guide. Watch them, use them, hold them in highest esteem. In case that doesn't interest you at all, here's your alternative. More setups for hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen, being used to make ammonia, nitrogen oxide, nitrogen dioxide, and then nitric acid. It's still a bit early to centralize fluids easily, but you'll need these chemicals again for the cetane-boosted diesel, so keep that in mind. You can probably share at least this setup if you're smart. If you're mixing sulfuric acid from the hydrogen sulfide you're getting from the oil line, route some over here and combine it with the nitric acid. Otherwise, divert some oxygen from your local setup and mix some fresh on site to combine with the nitric acid for nitration mixture. And use the LCR recipe. It's easier. You got the toluene from distilling naphtha, so send it through a ball mold in the fluid solidifier for gelled toluene. If you're set up for it, you get better returns on the toluene using sugar and polyethylene. But when's the last time you checked on your farms? Do bees really seem that bad to do now? It's not getting any better from here. Trust me. After you have a couple dozen stacks of ITNT or so, you can make compressed plates. You're going to use an insane amount of resources here. If you follow the order of the god, this represents days and days of effort and smelting and crafting. The videos have been snappy, but don't mistake that for progress being fast. As usual, the quest book does an excellent job of laying out the steps. You need most of the stuff here. Slowly but surely make your way towards the rocket, the Tier 1 lander, the oxygen gear, and the launch equipment. And when you have it all, you'll need to gas up the beast. You have two choices, cetane boosted diesel or RP1 rocket fuel. And cetane is going to be pretty easy if you follow it along pretty closely. You've got nitric acid and sulfuric acid standing by for making TNT, and extra ethylene from distilling naphtha you can mix with oxygen for acetic acid, the last chemical you need to get ethanone, and ultimately tetranitromethane once you react it with the nitric acid. Mix that with a bit of fuel, and you're ready for spaceflight. If you can automate this whole process, this is a pretty big upgrade from regular fuel for your base too. Snag up that space gear, and it's time for final checks. And be sure you make them. Go ahead and fill your oxygen. You'll notice that the galacticraft blocks are sided, so make sure the energy is actually going in and the oxygen is actually coming out on the collector, and that both are going in on the compressor. Goofy little blocks. And don't forget to bring them with you. Then it's confirming oxygen tanks, miners, compressed chests, generators, fuel, leaves, a fuel loader, glowstone torches, Ender-IO capacitor, and energy conduits. Check, check, check. You can collect oxygen on the moon too. That's why you're bringing the stack of leaves. Just cut out a cave, line it with leaves, and plop the collector down. The more leaves close by, the better. And with that, you're ready to launch. Don't forget anything. Mission Control, this is Flight Command. We have impact. No time to waste. Slay monsters and light the night if you need to. Otherwise, get right to work prospecting and looking around for the dungeon entrance. Basically just a big hole in the ground, and you can see bricks at the bottom of it. You're looking for neodymium, bauxite, ilmenite, chromite, and aluminum. Tons of goodies here to supply life on Earth. Get your miners out, get them set, and get them chunk loaded. Then go boss hunting. Even if you can't fly, you can really just zip right through the dungeon straight to the boss arena. And kill the boss very, very easily. Grab the key, check the chest, and cross your fingers for a Tier 2 rocket template. If you don't get one, find more dungeons and kill more bosses until you do. It won't take long. Once you're content with your haul, head on home. Don't feel bad about making a home location on the moon either. No one's judging you because no one knows you did it. And all that's left now is processing the ilmenite and bauxite into rutile. Full-on maxing out the production is going to be worth it here, so macerate the bauxite ore down to crush form, then send it through a chemical bath with sodium persulfate. You can expand on this by processing the purified bauxite into bauxite slurry and investing in the full bauxite line. We aren't going to cover it now, but look it up. Insane returns. Insane. You can do some similar things with the ilmenite too, except using sulfuric acid for insane returns on rutile and a closed loop for getting the sulfuric acid back, but not until EV. If you're desperate, you can run ilmenite through the full macerator, washer, macerator, centrifuge line for some bonus rutile, but you're probably better off just getting more bauxite. Once you're all set on rutile, you can start converting it into titanium. The quest book explains it, but in short, the whole processing line is a giant closed loop, where the only input is rutile. To kickstart it, you need chlorine and carbon to go with the rutile in an LCR. Electrolyze the resulting carbon monoxide, send the titanium chloride to the EBF with magnesium, cool the resulting hot titanium, and send the magnesium chloride to a chemical reactor to combine with sodium for the magnesium back and some salt, which you can electrolyze for your original chlorine and the sodium you just used. All it takes is a little logistics, and it can run as long as you stay in rutile. And you're going to want to run it for a long, long time. You've done it. You're out of the early game. You're officially no longer a beginner. Just in time for new beginnings. This is GTNH after all. The learning is never done. There's a lot more to do in HV2, but you know how to look around now. Applied energistics is on the horizon, if you can get enough titanium, that is. Hopefully, this guide sets you up with enough information to take a real crack at the pack. You won't regret it. See you in the game. And hey, stay positive out there.